Hey, I'm Ariel. I'm a student at UMass. I'm doing computer science and mathematics.
Hello everyone, my name's Eric Trimble and I'm a computer science major.
Hi, my name is Alfred Joseph and I'm a computer science student at UMass Amherst.
Our team is Software Stonks and our project is called Spendify.
Spendify is an application that uses analytics of its users' transaction histories to provide detailed feedback on constructive spending habits and practices. Spendify is innovative because it allows users to edit their transaction histories at will, enabling users to report cash transactions that other financial applications cannot track. It also allows users to see visual breakdown of what they're spending their money on.
There's some financial tracking apps out there. What ours app does differently is that it gives you different insights that other apps don't give you, in addition to looking at your transaction history and categorizing it and being able to filter by category and by date.
The target users are any people who are interested in just improving themselves and doing better in the world of personal finance.
Anyone who would like to keep track of their spending and have their spending breakdown visualized for them. Also, perhaps people who use cash more often, which doesn't get picked up in their usual bank account.
Somebody that is responsible and wants to keep their finances in check, but doesn't have time to go out and read all these books, make and keep track of an Excel spreadsheet with custom graphs. We do all that for the end user to give them more control over their financial life.
There's a register button where you can register. If you're already registered, you can log in, and then you can see you have your transaction history.
And in the transaction history over here, you can see the history that's already been recorded. You can add entries. You can also filter the history based on different entries if you only want to look at specific parts of the history. The donut chart here shows which categories are consuming which parts of your spending. It supports up to 6 to 7 categories. After that, the rest of the categories start being grouped into a additional categories group. We also show monthly spending over the past few months, so you can see which months you've been doing better, which months you've been doing worse. And then after that, there are suggestions which are based on the analysis of the data, which explain how much you've spent this month, what can be improved based upon that, which category is the most expensive, how can you reduce that category, what about investments.
So if I register as a new user, as you can see, I'm given to a new dashboard and I no longer have any spending history, and I can add to it if I wanted to. And as you can see, it gets added to the table, and if we go back to the dashboard, it is now displaying a pie chart and tells me suggestions in my monthly spending again. The part that I found most interesting was the visualization of the data and the bar chart that get created through parsing the transaction history table.
I think one of the funnest and most challenging things to code was the filtering system. So how we filter through our database to find not just the category a user is searching for, but in addition to that, we had to code it so that you're not seeing someone else's data.
Well, I particularly enjoyed the data visualizations created. I created these visualizations myself using HTML Canvas. It required quite a bit of figuring out how it was actually going to be done, and it combined a lot of actual mathematics to get the analytics right with just general graphical processing tricks to help make sure that everything came out right in the end. I think setting up the basic structure of the website was pretty easy for the team, but once it finally got down to the business of getting the server up and running, the databases, and then getting all the more sophisticated parts together, that ended up being more difficult than we expected it to be.
One thing that was difficult may have been the many deadlines for the different parts of the project that were sometimes difficult to meet and broke up the seamlessness of the creation of the project.
One really big technical challenge was to create the APIs that allow you to store your financial data, because not only did we need to allow the full range of CRUD operations on your financial data, we needed to store a token in the browser that let the browser know who is creating the record and if it's a valid user, and if so, it needs to attach that financial record to the user that created it in storage, so that the users don't see data that other people have created. And that was a challenging thing to code, but also it was pretty rewarding to see it work out. I think we learned a lot making that change because we ran into so many issues that were just really hard to debug. But then once we did it, we learned something great. So I'm really grateful for that experience.
If we continue to work on this application, we would find a way to integrate it with your actual bank account information through an API like Plaid, so you wouldn't have to manually enter in all of your data. Furthermore, that would allow you to have accurate and up-to-date information about your actual bank account. Since we already provide suggestions about one's spending, perhaps we could expand on the income aspect of your bank account balance and provide suggestions on how to boost that income by suggesting jobs and work online. Furthermore, providing information on what your savings would look like, considering interest rates and compound interest on the money that you are able to save using the spending breakdown, would be an interesting way to go forward.
We could integrate technologies to be able to pick which parts of their financial data they want displayed in these pie charts and these bar charts, etc. So additional charts, more analytics, the better.
I'd like to see more financial best practices implemented into the app. So if you spend 10% on groceries, that means you spent approximately 5.2 weeks just working so that you can eat. We want to show people that for the amount that you work, the amount of money that you actually keep is really important when building a financial base. That's a really key insight that I'd like to see hammered in more to our end users.